Surprise Shirts have sent me this mystery box, and they've said whatever team I get inside, I have to win the English Premier League with them. So let's open it up, and we've been given, I don't know who, but this shirt is seriously cool. It turns out it's the Llantwit Major goalkeeper jersey from this season, their famous fish and chips shirt. You might also recognise their Mr. Blobby shirt from a few seasons ago. This genuinely might be the most unique football shirt in the world. But they play in Wales's second division, and I need to win the English Premier League. I bet this is because Cardiff, Swansea, Wrexham and Newport County are all trying to play in the Welsh Cups to try and qualify for European competitions. This challenge is basically the reverse of that. Thanks very much to Surprise Shirts for this beautiful jersey. More on them later on, because in the meantime, I need to move this team to England. Specifically the National League South, where we are predicted to finish bottom of the table. So I was pretty surprised when Cian Williams seemed overly optimistic about the season. Maybe these players have a lot of belief, so I leaned into that and told them that we won't be in a relegation battle. Which turned out to be the wrong thing to say, as everyone was either hurt or offended. Cian Williams is actually on paper our best player, so we're going to need our left back to shine this season. I want to play solid defensive football, where we settle into a low block without the ball, but then play quick direct football on the counter-attack to score goals on the break. Our first game is at home against Truro City, a team we need to be beating if we want to avoid relegation, but less than 2 minutes in, they caused us an issue from a corner and took the lead of the match. But we can also play the ball around nicely. Tweedy and Kimmins played some nice football on the near side, got the ball into the middle, and Ryan Escott got us back on level terms. For around 90 seconds, as Truro immediately scored a second goal. And then they made it 3-1 with a headed effort at the far post, which then turned into 4 with a shot from distance, which gave the away team something to dance about. But just before half time, Truro fouled our striker Escott in the penalty area, giving James Dixon a chance to score from the spot, which he couldn't. We suffer a humiliating 4-1 defeat on the opening day of the season. Already I'm feeling this video is going to be a long one. We did eventually get our first win of the season 3 games in, as we scored twice late on to beat Worthing and claim our first 3 points. We did it again a few weeks later as we welcomed Chippenham Town to South Wales, and despite going a goal down against Taunton Town, James Dixon got us back on level terms, and following his penalty miss against Truro, he handed over responsibilities to Cian Williams, who won us the match. But he did score from a spot against Welling in a 1-0 win, whilst Ryan Escott scored the winner in a 2-1 win away at Hemel Hempstead. Then James Dixon scored the winning goals against Bath and St Albans City, taking our win tally to 7. Along with 3 draws, that puts us 17th in the table, 2 points ahead of the relegation zone on Boxing Day. However, in the new year, we struggled to win. Instead, we ended up drawing a lot of games, typically scoring in the 90th minute to earn those draws. But it means with 9 games to go, we slip into the relegation zone. We got a point on the board when we scored a 97th minute equaliser, and then 3 more when we beat Hemel Hempstead 2-0 at home. But our hard work was undone when we suffered back-to-back 3-2 defeats. And with 5 games to go, we're still in the relegation zone. Dartford then beat us 1-0 at home before we travelled to Aveley and lost 3-1. However, we were handed a lifeline when we played bottom of the table Chelmsford City and won 2-0, collecting a vital 3 points. Buoyed by that win, we then caused a shock when we travelled to playoff chasing Bath. Although they did take the lead, we then scored twice either side of half time to take the lead ourselves. But Bath denied us of all 3 points when they scored in the 87th minute. But a point is a point, and this one was crucial. Heading into the final day, we sit 21st in the table, 2 points behind St Albans City, who are of course the team that we're playing. Win this match and we leapfrog St Albans to avoid relegation. Early in the game, our goalkeeper Alan was forced to make an important save. This allowed us to go up the other end of the pitch, recycle a cleared corner to Joshua Morgan, who was left completely open, meaning he could give us the all-important lead for about 10 minutes, as St Albans crossed to the back post, found the head of Hakeem Sander, who put St Albans back on level terms. But we did have a chance from another corner. This time because the ref gave us a penalty for a handball. Up steps James Dixon, who gives us back the lead of the game, redeeming his penalty miss from the opening day. Then, thanks to a very heavy deflection, we gained a 2-goal advantage from Thomas Tweedy's free kick. We came agonisingly close to making it 4-1 when Route 1 Football got the ball through to Ryan Escott, who broke free of his marker, only to have his effort denied by the crossbar. But from the resulting corner, which was cleared, Thomas Tweedy hit the ball with all his might and scored our 4th goal of the afternoon, meaning we win the game 4-1 and we avoid relegation by the skin of our teeth. James Dixon, Ryan Escott and Thomas Tweedy were our top performers, but if we want to improve, even these players need replacing. We need some players that are going to play for the badge. And of course, I suppose the fish and chips as well, that'd be quite nice too. Big thanks to Surprise Shirts, by the way. They are the best company when it comes to mystery shirts. They send you a mystery authentic football shirt from any club or nation around the world. You can choose from their standard box or go more specific with their FM25 or EAFC boxes, which gives you a club playable in either of those games. With FM25 right around the corner, it's not a bad way for you to choose the team that you're going to manage. You can then specify how niche you want the team to be. Clantwit Major would certainly be on the more go-for-it end of the spectrum. And because I hate Grimsby Town, I can also ask them not to send me one of their shirts. When it arrives, you get a handy information card to tell you more about the team, and a QR code to add the shirt to your digital locker on their website to keep track of all the shirts they've sent you. Plus, if you use code TomFM10 at checkout, you get 10% off your order. So go over to their website, linked in the description, to put in your order and help support the channel. We ended up making 12 signings over summer to improve the team. The only player in the starting lineup from last season is Cian Williams at left wing back, as we run it back with the same tactic with the target of finishing in the top half. But I think we'll keep a load more clean sheets this season with Ryan Hammond on loan from Plymouth between the sticks. We started off strong, with new striker Martel Taylor-Crosdale scoring on his debut in a 2-0 win at home against Aveley. Martel continued scoring as we ended up drawing 5 of our first 10 games of the season, losing just once. We're very difficult to beat in our low block, but we just need to score more. Another new striker, Finlay Johnson, was also getting himself on the score sheet, helping us beat Maidstone 3-2, Hornchurch 3-1, and then scored himself a hat-trick as we beat Taunton Town 3-1 at home. We did suffer a few losses to decent sides. Torquay beat us 4-2, Bath City thrashed us 3-0 at our place, and we lost 3-1 to Bolton in the FA Cup first round. But overall, we've had a remarkably good first half of the season and find ourselves in a playoff position. Keep this kind of form up and we'll surpass the target of just the top half finish and maybe be in with a shot at promotion. However, we just couldn't get going in the second half of the season. Form was all over the place and we went from comfortably beating teams to being unable to score and losing to teams at the bottom end of the table. Very quickly, our playoff hopes evaporated, and by the end of the season, we actually fell into the bottom half of the table, finishing in 13th place, below our target of a top half finish. Interestingly, this season's top scorers didn't do quite as well as last season, with goals being shared around the team a little bit more. I think if we can maintain the bulk of the squad and improve in some key areas, we could make a playoff push next season. So we signed 10 new players, and 2 of them I am very excited about. Striker Leon Chawone is on loan from Wolves, and I think will be lethal at this level. But if he isn't, Matthew Johnson from Crewe will also be up there to pick up the pieces. He'll play as a deep lying forward this season, as I try to get some better link-up play between the midfield and strikers. But both of them were able to find the net at the start of the season, as a lot of the draws we had in the early stages of last season were turning into wins this time around. However, we did lose form heading into November, losing key games against Hornchurch, Dorking and Slough, which despite being equidistant between London and Reading, turned out to be not my kind of town. By the time we played half of our league games this season, we sat 10th in the table. But we do have games in hand on most of the teams around us, and we use that to our advantage. We beat league leaders Torquay, and playoff chasing sides like Boreham Wood and Tonbridge Angels. As a result, by the end of the season, we sit in 6th place and qualify for the first round of the playoffs, where we take on Boreham Wood. Dorking have already beaten Weymouth and will take on Slough in the semi-finals. If we win, we're up against Maidstone. Boreham Wood away was a cagey game of few chances. The only difference being Will Perry's thunderous effort that went in off the crossbar, meaning that we progressed to play Maidstone, where again, only one goal was scored. Martel Taylor Crossdale got the goal, meaning we're going through to the playoff final, where we're travelling to Slough and the winner gets promoted. There weren't many chances in the first half, but Slough had the first big chance of the match, where they hit the crossbar from distance before flashing a second opportunity wide of the mark. But we also came close and hit the woodwork from close range. At the break, neither side had registered a shot on target. Early in the second half, we found space down the far side of the pitch, but right wing back Joe Thomas couldn't keep his shot down, and neither could Matthew Johnson when he had a direct free kick in a really dangerous spot. The closest we got was Joe Thomas's header from a corner, which grazed the top of the crossbar. So with the clock ticking down, we threw everyone forwards, loading bodies into the middle, hoping for a miracle. Which we got. Down went Joe Thomas under the challenge of Callum Hume, and the referee pointed to the spot. Up steps Cian Williams, who sends the keeper the wrong way and gives us the lead in the 89th minute. Slough didn't have enough time to respond, meaning we win the game 1-0 and earn promotion to the National League. If you all press the subscribe button right now, I reckon we could go back to back next season. It was a terrific season from our lone players, Taylor Crossdale and Cian Williams, but we're going to have to rebuild again without those key loanees. This season we spent £6,000 of transfer budget on a new centre-back from TNS in Wales, as we're once again relying on some high quality loans and a real gem that we found. Paul O'Driscoll is a 17-year-old Irish striker who we found available as a free agent, and for his age, he looks superb. But I think Barry Gallagher on loan from Coventry might be the man this season to score us plenty of goals. O'Driscoll scored on his debut as we drew away from home at Kings Lynn Town, and he then scored as we beat Bromley at home in our second game. Then Barry Gallagher rescued a late draw for us at Barnet to collect our 5th point of the season. In fact, we genuinely were looking like we could be back-to-back promotion contenders as we beat Torquay United 3-1, Grimsby Town 3-0 away from home, and scored a last-minute winner through Martel Taylor Crossdale away at Boston United. However, our superb start to the season quickly ended as we then didn't win for 10 league games in a row, as we picked up a whole bunch of draws and suffered a handful of defeats against recently relegated Football League clubs. After being in the playoffs 10 games into the season, we dropped down to 14th by the halfway mark. To make matters worse, January and February were just terrible, as we couldn't find a way to win games, and we thought we might be slipping towards the relegation battle. However, heading into March, our strikers found some form, as Paul O'Driscoll won us the game against Gateshead, Barry Gallagher scored the 4th in a 4-3 win over Altrincham, and Martel Taylor Crossdale helped us beat Dagenham and Redbridge 2-1 on the final day of the season. So in the end we finished 15th, and other than a brief moment at either end of the table, there wasn't really much excitement. Taylor Crossdale ended up having more goals than O'Driscoll, who I feel underperformed this season. Heading into season 5, we made a sale of £150,000, which allowed us to give out some bigger contracts to new players. We have 12 new faces coming in as we change the shape of the team slightly. After 4 seasons of sitting in the low block, it's time to go on the offensive with a 3-4-3 high-pressing team where we focus our play out wide. At the heart of this is Julian Guy, a right inside forward in on loan from Birmingham City for the season. We also have Tom Davis on a 2-year deal to play on the left-hand side after he was let go from Manchester United. And our secret weapon is Sam Hughes, the 6'6" centre-back who I'm hoping is going to be a beast from corners. And they all lived up to expectations. Tom Davis scored as we beat Yeovil Town 3-2 away from home on the opening day. Then Sam Hughes scored from a corner to beat Wealdstone, and Julian Guy scored in a 5-0 drubbing of Altrincham at home. All 3 of them then scored as we travelled to Tranmere Rovers and put 7 goals past them in our highest scoring match of the challenge so far. Young striker Paul O'Driscoll was also chipping in with goals, but he just wasn't as prolific. However, because of our special combination of the other 3 players, we're top of the table by 3 points at the halfway mark of the season just before Christmas. Surely, we can't keep this going. Especially as at the end of the January transfer window, the board accepted a bid of up to £105,000 for Paul O'Driscoll from Celtic. And the very next game, we ended up losing 2-1 away at Accrington Stanley. However, this ended up being the last game we lost all season. Despite losing our main striker, we went unbeaten, swatting aside any potential title rivals like Bromley, Scunthorpe United, Boston United and Harrogate Town. It really caught me off with how good we were this season. In fact, we were so good, we now hold the points record for the National League with 116. We did go a little bit meta with double Segundo Volantes and inside forwards, but this season we have well overperformed. In Season 5, Julian Guy stole the show, and he will head back to Birmingham next season. But 19-year-old Tom Davies looks like he could take League 2 by storm in Season 6. And for our first season in the Football League, the board are giving us £600,000 to spend. We then raised an extra £250,000 through player sales, which means that I spent £82,000 on some promising young players. £64,000 was spent on Hugh O'Sullivan, a midfielder who was Barnet's player of the season last time out. Belgian defender Sean Pepper joins us from Welsh club TNS for £8,000, but I think the best money might be the £5,000 we spent on John Akawunu, who, like Paul Driscoll before him, is a regen from Chorley. Apparently Chorley just generates some really great young players. However, the main man is Freddie Davidson, a striker in on loan from Birmingham City for the season, and at just 18 years old was developing quickly. It soon felt like he was just too good for the division, as he scored in wins against Forest Green, Crewe Alexandra and Cambridge United. It wasn't all quite plain sailing though. Doncaster Rovers beat us 3-1, Bristol Rovers scored 3 first-half goals to end up beating us 3-2, and Oldham scored late from a set piece to also beat us 3-2. Taking inspiration from another Welsh club, we seem to be doing a Wrexham, because at the halfway point of the season, we sit on top of the table. In the second half of the season, we also saw the emergence of John Akawunu, as he began to bag more and more goals from the right-hand side, as Freddie Davidson's form started to fall off. We also saw backup striker Jayden Heskey, the son of legendary England striker Emile Heskey, start to get more minutes and more goals. Both Jayden and John belong to the club, and I think we have a bright future with them. But the real star of the season is our tactic, which I just think is really overpowered. Because we finished top of the table, breaking the League 2 points record in the process. No one even came close to competing with us this season. So here's the formation in all its glory. Every single player has tackle harder turned on, and the centre backs and centre mids also have dribble more turned on. Enjoy it, because I think we might have to retire it for the rest of the video. It's just a little bit too overpowered. With just shy of £700,000 to spend this summer, we spent none of it, signing 7 players on free transfers, and for the first time ever, no loan players. Finlay O'Gorman is going to be our super striker this season, with 16 finishing and 15 pace. I think he could be one of the league's top scorers. This season we're switching to a 4-3-3, where we rely on our wing backs to get forward and provide the width. But on deadline day, without any time to replace him, we lost star centre-back Sean Pepper to Celtic for £2 million. And as a result, we struggled in the early stages of the season. Birmingham City beat us on the opening day, Sheffield Wednesday scored a 90th minute winner to win 3-2, and Welsh rivals Cardiff City did enough to beat us 2-1 at home. But thanks to a late Jayden Heskey goal, we were able to pick up a draw when Wrexham came to visit. However, the step up in quality, especially against the teams I've just mentioned, was tough. We sit 13th in the table at the halfway stage. We certainly played better in the second half of the season, as John Akawunu found form on the right-hand side. He ended up being our top scorer ahead of Finlay O'Gorman, who didn't do as well as I'd been predicting. But we decided to start winning games just that little bit too late in the season, as by the time the final whistle had blown on game 46, we sit 3 points behind AFC Wimbledon in the final playoff spot. Our front 3 got into double figures for goals, and had they all hit the 20 goal mark, I think we could have seen ourselves in the playoffs. In Season 8, we have big money, as we get $3.2 million from a sell-on clause from Paul O'Driscoll. At the time, I was so cross the board sold him, but at least they did protect the club's future interests. So I used the money to spend £400,000, a club record, on a familiar face in Barry Gallagher. We had him on loan in Season 4 in the National League, and since then he hasn't been able to break into Coventry City's first team. So we bought him. On his second debut for the club, he scored in the 91st minute to cement a 2-0 victory away at Charlton. And from there, he couldn't be stopped, as he had a point to prove. Coventry never put their faith in him, and he wanted to show them, as well as the rest of the Football League, just how good he was. Especially when he scored goals to win us matches like the winner away at Plymouth and our fourth goal in a 4-3 win over Chesterfield. At Christmas, he's the top scorer in League One as we sit on top of the table, a single point ahead of Oxford United. Then in the second half of the season, we made sure we beat all of our biggest promotion rivals, like Oxford United and Portsmouth, whilst also beating QPR on the final day of the season, which saw us lift the League One title and drop QPR out of the playoff positions into 7th place. So incredibly, we are now in the Championship and moving closer to the Premier League. It's also really exciting that our top 4 goal scorers are all 23 and under, so they can still all improve. But the Championship is a real step up. So we raised some capital by selling Hugh O'Sullivan for up to £12.5 million and reinvested that into expensive loan wages and new players. Our hopes rely on 18-year-old Hamadou Dieng, who we've recruited from Senegal to start up top ahead of last season's top scorer Barry Gallagher. But as it turned out, neither striker had a great start to the season, as we lost our first 3 games to Stoke City, Bolton Wanderers and Middlesbrough. We earned our first point away from home at Welsh rivals Wrexham as Dieng got off the mark, and then after a few more losses, we finally earned our first win of the season as we travelled to Reading and won 4-1, with once again Dieng being on the score sheet. His good form continued as he scored twice on our way to beating Lincoln City 3-0 at home, scored the game's only goal against Bromley, who have somehow made it to the Championship, and scored a 92nd minute winner away at Birmingham City. So after a slow start, our inability to draw games means we actually sit 8th in the table, performing way above expectations. However, our inability to draw turned into a negative in the second half of the season, as we started to lose more games. The low point was a 4-1 loss at home against Wrexham, before Swansea came to visit and we got our arses handed to us in a 5-0 defeat. But despite only picking up 21 points in 23 games, we remarkably only dropped 1 place to 9th by the end of the season. And under the radar, it was actually Barry Gallagher who ended up scoring the most goals, as he often operated from the right wing whilst playing alongside Dieng. With £8.75 million to spend in Season 10, I reckon if we can improve our defence, we will be in the hunt for a playoff position. And as you can see, I spent £5 million on one player, as well as almost £2 million on a few others, mostly in defensive positions. 21-year-old ball-winning midfielder Inigo Vallejo is who I'm hoping will be the defensive key to turn around our team's fortunes. And I'm also hoping that Northern Irish keeper Romero, signed from a club in Brazil, will keep more clean sheets for us. I also now find it hilarious that we're losing out on players to the likes of AC Milan. But despite all of our new signings, we still lost 1-0 away at Wrexham on the opening day of the season. In fact, we didn't win until our 6th game of the season when we beat Lincoln City 2-1. But after that, we couldn't stop winning. Dieng started to pick up from where he left off last season, whilst John Owakawunu was still just about holding down the right wing position as he chipped in with goals as well. Defensively, we were much better as we kept 6 clean sheets in the first half of the season and both centre-backs chipped in with goals. As a result, at the halfway point of the season, we sit 2nd in the table behind Welsh rivals Swansea City. Could this be our season to go up? Well, if it wasn't going to be via automatic promotion, as we lost all momentum in January and February, losing to teams like Derby County, Blackburn Rovers, and the world's greatest football team, Lincoln City. However, Dieng and Akawunu did just enough goal scoring between them to keep us in the playoff mix, as we eventually finished the season in 4th place. So we're up against Derby County in the playoff semi-finals, and initially things are going well, as Liverpool loanee Charlie Lombard gave us the lead. However, the Pride Park crowd gave the Rams the lift they needed, equalising in the 67th minute and then taking the lead 20 minutes later. But in the 93rd minute, Cashin was judged to have shoved over De Jong in the penalty area and the referee called the foul. Up steps Vallejo, who levelled the scores to justify his £5 million price tag. So with it all to play for in Wales, O Akawunu found Bailey Rice in acres of space, who scored the only goal of the game to send us to the playoff final, beat West Brom, and we're promoted to the Premier League. We have some physically big players in midfield, and they did their job by winning the ball in the air, allowing us to attack down the right-hand side with O Akawunu, who decided not to cross, but shoot instead and give us the lead in the final. Charlie Lombard had a wonderful chance to double our lead, but his effort was too tame. At the other end of the spectrum, Bailey Rice's free kick was too hot to handle, but we still couldn't score another goal. We were then made to rue those missed opportunities, as West Brom popped a ball over the top and scored. But thankfully the VAR intervened and showed the West Brom man was just offside. So we head into the break with a 1-0 lead. That wouldn't last for long, as Grupp let his man get the better of him, and a looping header then beat Homero in between the sticks. With the second half turning into a stalemate, extra time was looking inevitable. Until the 94th minute, when West Brom raced down the left-hand side, delivered an inch-perfect cross, and once again a looping header beat Homero. West Brom win 2-1, and we're denied a spot in the Premier League. So we need to go big if we want to get promoted next season. With 10 million to spend and a further £12 million raised from player sales, we spent 13 of it on new first team players. The pick of the bunch is John Hodero from Brighton, who will be a rock at the back and a monster in the air from set pieces. But I also think Andreas Gonzalez, signed from Motherwell, could be the perfect backup to De Jong if he loses form or gets injured. And it turns out, De Jong didn't start the season well. So Gonzalez got the nod and started scoring, helping us to beat Cardiff 5-1 at home and score the winning penalty against Middlesbrough. But his goal against Derby was in vain, as we ended up losing to the league leaders 2-1. Neither Gonzalez or De Jong could help us against Norwich, who were in the automatic promotion places thanks to their 4-1 victory over us. Thankfully though, we were able to beat playoff rivals like Lincoln City and Swansea City, which puts us in a great position. At the halfway point of the season, we sit third in the table with a comfortable gap to Hull in 7th place. But to be honest, I don't really want to have to go through the playoffs again. So we took a step forwards by beating Norwich 2-1 at home to catch up to their points total. But then we lost to Lincoln City away from home, and then at home against Wrexham, who were sneaking their way into playoff contention. But as the season drew to a close, we began to be carried by 20-year-old summer signing Oscar Zapata. Signed for £500,000 from Atlético Nacional in Colombia, he was the potential wonder kid we'd taken a punt on, kind of expecting him to flop, but had an outside shot of making it big. As it turned out, he became our top scorer in the second half of the season, and as a result, his goals carried us to second place in the table and the promised land of the Premier League. Although I am more excited that Lincoln City have made it to the Championship playoffs. I've never seen them do this before. So imagine how excited I was when they won the final 2-0 to get promoted. So not only was Zapata our second top scorer, but he was basically the only player getting assists. So he may be the sole reason we've got promoted this season. In season 12, we have 32 million to spend, which actually in the Premier League isn't going to get us that far. So we sold £23 million worth of players to give us 55 million, of which we spent 41 million on some key players. Gianluca Prestiani joins us from Sunderland to play on the left wing, whilst we found right winger Alan Edge playing in Saudi Arabia, meaning we had to make him our top earner to join the club. Despite that, we are still predicted to finish in the relegation zone this season. But we managed to beat Leeds United 2-1 on the opening day of the season, and follow it up with a 1-0 win away at Brighton. Annoyingly though, we then lost to fellow promoted sides Lincoln City and Derby County, who scored their winner in the 89th minute, undoing all of our good work. Obviously, we also suffered heavy losses against the top Premier League clubs like Man City, Chelsea and Man United, who were first, second and third last season. But we've done just about enough winning to sit a point ahead of the relegation zone at the halfway mark of the season. Now, Alan Edge was meant to replace John Oakawunu, but John had other ideas in the second half of the season, as he was starting to find goal scoring form, helping us pick up important wins to take us away from the relegation zone. And with Hamidou Dieng also averaging a goal every other game, although 4 of them did come in a monumental 4-2 win over Man City, we were able to pull away from the relegation zone and finish way above our pre-season expectations to secure a 10th place finish. But if we want to improve, no one in this team is safe. For season 13, we've been given 60 million to spend, but rather than spread that money between a few different positions, I've gone all in on 2 players. 37 million was spent on Ludwig Thomas, an English international from Fulham, who is by far and away our best player on paper. Then I spent 20 million on Emmanuel Pizzo from Bournemouth to use his pace at right back. They allowed us to be more defensively secure, which allowed Hamidou Dieng to go on the offensive more often, as he started the season in electric form, quickly making himself the first name on the team sheet every week. He scored a hat-trick against Arsenal, a brace away at Tottenham Hotspur, and earned us a point against title-chasing Chelsea. In fact, at the halfway stage of the season, he was the Premier League's top scorer and has taken us to 4th in the table. Surely this can't be our year already. Well, in the second half of the season, he was a different player. For the worse. He only managed 5 more league goals, which had a dramatic effect on our performance as we went from winning plenty to losing plenty. So we weren't in a title fight, but we did manage to secure 7th place, which gives us a spot in the Europa League for next season. So now we have a side quest of a European adventure. Heading into season 14, we have 85 million to spend, which I turned into 137 million with the sale of 2 players. And unlike last season, I made sure to buy a lot of players. 7 of them for a combined 129 million. Not all of them are going to be starters, but it does mean our rotation options are now way better. The best of the bunch is striker Sergio Sanchez, who is here to push Hamidou Dieng to the absolute limits. However, neither of them scored in the league until our 9th game of the season. Instead, we had to rely on John Oakawunu from the right-hand side, Oscar Zapata through the middle, and Ludwig Thomas from set-piece routines to score goals and win games. Eventually though, both Dieng and Sanchez started to score, and as a result, we began to win games more frequently. At the halfway stage of the season, we sit 3rd in the table on 34 points, as no one looks to be running away with the title. At the same time, we have the Europa League phase, where we've been drawn against Welsh side Haverfordwest. We ended up beating the Welsh champions 4-1, as well as 6 of our other 8 games, only being denied maximum points because of a goalless draw with Athletic Club Bilbao. So we end up topping the league phase table, which makes us favourites to win the entire competition. And when we beat Napoli 7-0 on aggregate in the round of 16, I was feeling even more confident about lifting the trophy at the end of the season. That was until we lost in the quarter-finals 1-0 to Club Brugge. I guess you can't quite win everything, can you? But this allowed us to focus more on the Premier League and push for the title. We beat Arsenal 3-1 at home, and then Manchester United 2-1 at home with a late goal from Prestiani. Narrow 1-0 victories away at Chelsea and away at Brighton helped put us in pole position. With the season reaching its climax, we had a chance. With 2 games to go, all we need is 1 win to win the title and complete the Surprise Shirts Challenge. So our first opportunity to win comes away from home at Man City. The first chance of the game came to us as we worked the ball through the lines to Akawunu, who was eventually tackled. But a poor clearance fell straight to us, allowing Tamaka, the left back, to get to the byline and put a ball into the 6-yard area for Akawunu to give us the lead. He's actually my hero. We signed him in League 2, we've tried to replace him several times, but he just ends up finding a way to get back in the starting lineup. Minutes after scoring, he was still causing issues for Man City, but this time his effort was saved. Of course, Man City had their own chances. The closest they came was hitting the post from a corner. This means at the halftime break, we hold on to a narrow lead, but it didn't last long. Despite making multiple tackles, we couldn't get the ball away from the feet of the Man City players, who eventually put the ball in the back of a net. 5 minutes later though, we had a throw-in in an attacking area. We worked the ball backwards, and then across to O Akawunu on the near side, who took a first-time shot which wrong-footed the keeper and put us back in front. But we couldn't hold on to the lead for long. We gave the ball away cheaply to Man City on the halfway line, who quickly found Erling Haaland, who was never going to miss, making it 2-2. But this team never give up. Tamaka had the ball on the far side of the pitch and found a ball to O Akawunu, who flicked it onto our right back Pizzo, who scored low past Delgado to once again give us the lead. John O Akawunu almost sealed the victory for us, but was denied his hat-trick by the keeper, who also did superbly well to deny Charlie Ellis's late free kick. But thankfully, time was on our side. We didn't give Man City another chance, and we shut the game down. Clantwick Major are the champions of England, and we've completed the Surprise Shirts Challenge. Remember to go and check them out to get your own surprise shirt and use code TomFM10 at checkout for 10% off. Once you've done that, click on this video on screen to watch me continue my Champions League journey of going to one match at every round of the competition, but this time I go to the most iconic football stadium in the entire world.